Today we're going to look at 4 ways or 4 examples of how to reverse a string in Java. Now what I've already done is I've created a string variable here called Java that contains the text Java. Now this text we expect it, once it has been reversed, to come back as a VAJ. Our SOPs here will help us print the values that come out of these algorithms that we are going to implement just now. At the moment, these algorithms return null values. So if I build and run this, I should just get null values on our console output on the side. So let's go ahead and implement the first algorithm. So we are receiving a string value and we want to reverse that string value. And this first example uses a traditional approach that is used by most programmers. So what we do is we create a string variable, we can call it result, and we initialize it by setting it to an empty string. And then we can return that result once we have done the reversing logic in the middle here. But before we do that, we can pre-compute the length of the string that we are receiving here as an argument. So we can say length will be value.length. This will help us implement our for loop in a very efficient manner. So what we can do is we can then say for int of I is the same as length minus 1, where I is greater than or equal to 0 and I is decreased with every iteration of the loop. So what is going to happen is inside here we are going to get a single character from this string that we are receiving as an argument here, and then appending that to the result that we want to return. So what's going to happen is we're going to say result is plus or equal value dot char at the index I. And what this is going to do is going to look at a specific character starting from the end of the value. So what happens is we're receiving Java. It's going to start looking at A, then goes backwards. And therefore, at the end, we're returning that result. And if you look here at when we first ran this program, it returned null here. Now we're expecting it to return the reversed format of the string Java. So if I build and run that, we should get our result here. And if you remember, this is exactly what we expect because we are reversing this. Now, before we move on to the next example, I just want to point out that this is not really a good way of programming. If you are building strings here like this, concatenating them like this, it's not really good. If you remember, a string in Java is an immutable object. So what happens is that you are not really appending to this string here. You are building a new string. You are creating a new string. And so you are putting pressure on the garbage collector to come back and deal with all of this. Now, to do this in a more cleaner way, what we can do is we can use the string builder class. So you have something called the string builder class, which is part of the Java language package. So you say string builder, we can still call it result, or you can call it a different name. And then we're going to say new string builder. And then when we come down here, what we can do is we can say string builder dot append, and then like so. Now, because this is a string builder, what we can do is we can sort of return this toString of that string builder back. And this is now a more sort of cleaner way and efficient way to sort of deal with this kind of problem. So if we build and run that, it should return the same result, but in a more efficient way or a more cleaner way of programming. Now we're going to look at example 2, where we're going to use a different example instead of so here we're going to use, if you are studying a course on data structures and algorithms, we're going to sort of implement this based on the stack data structure. So we're going to say stack, and it's a parameterized type, so we're going to use the character type. We can sort of import that because it's from the util package. So we can just call it a string, a stack. It doesn't really matter what you call it, and then you can create a new stack here. Now here we're going to use a string builder directly because we've already discussed the issues of using a string on its own. So we're going to use a string builder SB. It's the same as it's initialized to string builder. And then we are going to sort of pre-compute our length. So length is equal to value.length. And then in the for loop that we are going to create here, we are going to sort of go through each and every. We're going to say int I equal to 0 and I less than the length, and then we say I plus plus with every iteration. And then we're going to take our stack and then push a single character. So from the value we take a character in this index position or the ith position, and then we push it to the stack. Now the way a stack works is that it's a LIFO data structure. What this means is that it is a last in first out. Whatever you put inside the stack as the last item, it will be the first item to come out. So, and this is why we are able to reverse a string using this sort of data structure. And then what we can do next is to use a while loop where we will iterate or go through the entire stack, considering the stack is not empty. So so long as the stack is not empty, we're going to take whatever is inside the stack and sort of append it to the string builder. So we're going to say stack, and to remove things from a stack, we use the pop method. So that's going to sort of take the first item on top of the stack and then remove it from there, and we're going to append it to the string builder. And then what we can do is we can return the string builder dot to string. If you remember, string builder it's not really a string, so we have to sort of call the toString method to build its string format back to us and then return it. So if we build and run that, we should sort of see our result for reverse one algorithm coming back as we expected, AVAJ. We are now going to look at the third example. The third example uses it uses a string builder as well, but then what happens is that here we are just being sort of cheap. We are not really building the algorithm ourselves. We are using the Java API, string builder API. So what we're going to do here, and I'm going to create the string builder object on the fly. So we're going to say new string builder, and then the constructor for this, will give the constructor for this our string or our value that we are getting from the argument here. So this argument here, we're going to pass it in here. And then what will happen is that we're going to actually just reverse this. And when we reverse it, we get a string builder back. And then we can take that string builder and then turn it into a string and then return it. This is one of the cheaper ways to return a reversed string. And if we build and run that, we should see that our reverse to algorithm returns the result that we expect back. Our fourth example will be using something called a string buffer. Now, I wouldn't really recommend you using the string buffer unless you are using an older version of Java. With the newer versions of Java, you can use all of the above mentioned methods. And if you were to choose between a string builder and a string buffer, you could definitely go for a string builder, as it is much faster than the string buffer. So let's see how we can implement this using the string buffer. So what we do is we're also going to create this on the fly. We're just going to say new string buffer, and then we're going to give it our value string, and we're going to reverse that. It's the same idea. And then we're going to say toString, and if we build and run that, we should get our result back as expected. These are the sort of 4 ways you can use to reverse a string in Java. Thanks for watching.